if you have an AMS integration in a multi-keyword campaign, your placement mods are less accurate because like the placement mods are going to be applied. I'm drilling the point home. I'll be applied to all keywords, but maybe keyword 4 here has a bad performance on top of search, and I'm enabling a placement mod for keyword bad performance, top of search, bad, right? But like, I don't always optimize in the same time frame. Stick to one thing and commit to it. Like either use 7 days over 7 days or 14 days over 14 days. That's the scientific method. That's the scientific method 101. We don't want to compare. We don't want to go like 30 days and then 7 days and then we want to have 14 days. Like stick to the same time frame. So otherwise, the scientific method, we're just running a big data experiment. What's going on, guys? It's been a while. My name is Paul. Welcome back to the channel with Batman in the background. In this video, we're going to talk about advanced campaign optimization techniques for more efficiency so you can optimize your targets and ideally increase spend. Of course, PPC is just one piece of the puzzle, but we're going to talk about advanced tactics, so not, low bid strategy, increasing the bid, but actually, deeper level concept that not a lot of people are talking about. So stick until the end, because at the end, I will share, a secret hack that will help you, identify how to, evaluate the targets where you can squeeze the most lemon juice out of your campaign performance. So let's dive right into it. So first, this is more like a mindset basics section. So many people overthink bid optimization, and the problem is that they are getting, basically analysis, or they get paralysis by analysis because they're overthinking, they're making everything too complicated, they're changing too many things, and they end up not being able to correlate any changes that they made in the account. So that is really the art of bid optimization, is not, changing too much or like too much until you're not able to correlate anything anymore. So number one, we have to first understand the architecture of an PPC, campaign. And you're probably an advanced pro, but just so I'm also talking to the people that might, be new to the topic. So the problem with bid optimization, and I'm also going to include obviously placement optimization because we're talking about campaign optimization, is obviously that we have number one, we have the keyword level, right? So we have the performance on keyword level, and then we have the various data points like, sales, order, CPC, ACOS, yada, yada, yada. And then the problem is that we have, our placement performance. And again, you might already be familiar with this, but like the crux of bid optimization, or placement optimization, or campaign optimization now is, okay, if we have multiple keywords per campaign, right? You tell me, please, okay, that's the problem. What keyword is performing how, okay, for each placement, right? We don't know. We get this data set via Amazon Marketing Stream, but we'll talk about this in a second. But the problem is, even if you have multiple keywords per campaign, you are able to evaluate the performance for each keyword for the placement. But the problem is you can enable, placement modifiers to a certain degree. But I always catch myself, and I always have an open mind. I always have a student mindset, but I'm always hesitant in multi-keyword campaigns with top of search because I don't know, number one, what keywords are performing well for top of search, rest of search, product detail pages. You don't know, right? You only see the average, and you might say, but like the point is, the bottom line is you don't know what keyword is performing how for the placements, right? And now if I enable, the bid adjustment or the placement modifier top of search, I'm enabling for all keywords. So that's the problem. And the solution is obviously single keyword campaigns, right? That is obviously the solution. But you can get too granular. So I would use the Pareto principle, right? Top 20% of keywords I would put into single keyword campaigns, so you have more control. Otherwise, you don't even have the ability to steer the keyword performance, again, because we talked about, that we're not aware. I mean, if you have an AMS integration, you're aware of the placement performance per keyword, and most people don't have an AMS integration, but even if you have an AMS integration in a multi-keyword campaign, your placement mods are less accurate because like the placement mods are going to be applied. I'm drilling the point home. I'll be applied to all keywords, but maybe keyword 4 here has a bad performance on top of search, and I'm enabling a placement mod for keyword bad performance, top of search, bad, right? But like, I don't even know. So long story short, in a single keyword campaign, you always know this performance data here is for that keyword. And sure, you can get too granular. I wouldn't put all targets into single keyword campaigns, but I would definitely put like the top 20 to 30 keywords into a single keyword campaign. So you are, so you have control, and control. So you have control. So that's the first step. Be aware of these fundamentals. And then people say, oh yeah, but this is so basic. Yeah, bro, like masters always drill the fundamentals and the basics. Always, right? Like Michael Phelps is the greatest Olympian of all time. He's famous for having a to-do list, like wake up, swim, eat, swim, sleep, repeat 365 days a year. So the ego is the enemy. That's a great book, right? Ego is the enemy by Ryan Holiday, I think. And he always says, always never say, I already know this. No, reps, 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 reps. Repeat the fundamentals every day. And yeah, the best coaches tell you the fundamentals. They annoy you with the fundamentals. So my job is to annoy you with the fundamentals, because my intention is to be the best coach for you in Amazon PPC, because I'm just going to, I'm not here to sell you anything. I just want to help you get better results. Okay. That's why I'm speaking with that much passion. So that's number one. Number two, for advanced bid optimization. So we're not covering, talk about how to actually optimize in a campaign. So I would obviously go, either I like to go last week, but you can also go last 7 days, minus the last 2 days. Some people go last 14 days. Just stick to one, consistent schedule. But obviously the, pro of selecting a longer time frame is that you get more data. The con is that in the advertising console, you can, it's harder to evaluate the week over week trend. But in general, you just want to be aware of, if you select longer time frames, how that the trend of the performance of the campaign is developing. So then I would go, spend descending, because I want to identify the campaigns that actually have the highest, weight on the account. And all of these decision-making, rules or heuristics, you can then go ahead and distill into a, bid management system. But for example, here we see 50. It also depends on your goal. Do you have a 35? Some brands have a 35% goal. Some like ACOS goal, right? Some have a 25% ACOS goal. TACOS obviously is the most important. But let's dive into a campaign and actually talk about how to optimize it. For example, here I would look at this is the second highest spending campaign, 50%. Here I would definitely go in first. The first one is a 33% ACOS. That's also a candidate. But this year I believe, from my perspective, has a worse performance, right? And I would look at how's the spend developing? The spend had actually slowed down a little bit. A big spike here on the 17th. First, I would go into bid adjustment. So I just like to go top down, right? So we can see, okay, top of search has an 88% TACOS, 37%, ACOS, and here 42% ACOS. So I would just take away the bid modifier and probably enable a bid modifier here, just so but like low, right? Because the ACOS is not great, but just so the algorithm is a little bit more incentivized to prioritize this placement. Then I would go into ad groups, obviously go into the ad group. Then I like to use a single product ad group, single ASIN ad group architecture or structure. So yeah, just be aware, do you have multiple ones? Then obviously you might want to negate the skew or ASIN in the campaign that is not performing well. At next, and that's also a good point. Next, I like to go into the search term. You could also first go into targeting, but if you have multiple ASINs per ad group, then you won't be able to correlate the search term performance to each ASIN. So that's the benefit of single ASIN ad groups. Multi-ASIN ad groups have the benefit that you can, in general, from my experience, get more sales velocity. So then I would go ahead and I would probably get more data. So I would select the last 30 days, look at the spend, look at the sales and the ACOS, and I just want to see the segment of spend that is generating 0 orders, and just look at the spend, right? So from 248, 182 is not generating any sales in the last 30 days. So I think that's pretty logical to negate, because this is a 50% ACOS campaign in the last 7 days, sorry. So then we go into negative targeting. Now some people might say, don't put the Now, some people might say, don't put the ASINs into the negative execs, but I just want to be fast, save time, Sure, you could filter the list first, but who cares, man? Let's just negate it all. And some people might even search the ASIN manually if they're an advertiser, for example. And now we want to look at the, segment that is actually generating sales, and that is actually performing really good at a 10% ACOS. So now we've trimmed the fat, right, or cut away, the waste or whatever, however you want to call it. But then might be on to targeting, and this is a single auto match type campaign, meaning only one match type is activated. Now I would look at, the CPC is 71 cents. Now I would want to see, first, what's the bid adjustment, what's the CPC for rest of search, 65. So I would probably go with 60 cents as a bid, right? This is some people go with especially ad measure or ad tips, they go with a revenue per click model. This is already actually at 60%. So I think this has been already caught by the bid management tool. But there's this is the highest bidding campaign, so I would maybe even put a 40%, 40-cent bid, because I really want to slow the spend down. And then I would go ahead, take the search terms with greater than 0 orders, and just put all of these product targets and the converting search terms into performance campaigns, and just promote them, isolate them, however you want to call it. And yeah, that's basically the principle. Sure, this can be distilled and should be distilled in an automation system, but that's at the end of the day the fundamentals. By the way, guys, to learn more about Amazon ads, follow for more content, and also make sure, and if you're interested in getting granular hourly performance data for your Amazon marketing campaigns, make sure to sign up for Amazon Marketing Stream so you can get more granular reporting. And it will have for example, maybe 30% of the campaign might have 0 orders, and just negating that will, in general, optimize the average. But that's obviously, I mean, you should have bidding rules, if portfolio, is on ACOS, then we want to that's another recommendation I have for you. If something is working, don't overchange it. I work for some of the biggest, say, like software providers on the market. I'm not going to name any names. I don't want to get hit with any defamation. I'm not that, like, influential, but I don't want to get into trouble. But I'm telling you, some of these tools are changing the bits on a daily basis, right? So we'll get to this in a second. But like, if portfolio on Arcos target, then maybe, change, like, increase bits under 10%, Arcos last week by 5%. That's really like conservative, right? And then you have another one for like 20 to 30, increase by 5. Or you might say, okay, 10%, increase by 10%, like change it up, right? But like, I'm telling you, like, the frequency should be, I've seen good results with twice a week, but honestly, I prefer should be weekly or like bi-monthly. Some people also say, okay, monthly, but I think that's a little bit too much, because if you are not, number one, we have the attribution delay, right? We have a 7-day attribution delay. So if you're changing bits of the performance of yesterday, then you're changing a bit, like you're lowering the bit for a target with bad ARCOS, but like after the attribution, it's maybe a keyword with a good ARCOS because an order got reattributed and now you have lowered the bit. So I would, I always optimize on like Tuesday or Wednesday for the last week or for the last 2 weeks. Obviously, it depends on the performance of the ASIN. If the ASIN or like the account is performing well, I don't change too much. I might increase bits for, targets with under 10% ARCOS and low clicks, like less than 7 clicks on average per day, because I want to get more clicks. But in general, if it's working, don't never change a winning system. But I'm telling you, frequency weekly or bi-monthly, because otherwise you're not able to correlate the changes anymore. Correlation meaning, like, at the end of the day, the basic, that's what I mean, okay, to go full circle. Like, the purpose of bit optimization should be, okay, to make more money while lowering cost. That's at the end of the day, and it sounds so stupid, simple. It sounds so dumb, right? But like, really stupid, simple is efficient, because most people make it so complicated, right? And they construct these super complex bit optimization, contingencies and heuristics, but they're not able to correlate anything, right? So you have to have a system where you're tracking if after you have changed a bit, you actually improve the performance, right? And you need to have some kind of system where, okay, this is obviously correlated to, number one, if it's a broad match, phrase match, do you have down only for bidding strategy? But long story short, this is just to visualize the concept, but you need some kind of system where you see, okay, let's say this is a fixed bid exact match single keyword campaign. That's why I like this architecture so much. Okay, we then know, okay, we increase the bid by 5%, period over period. You can do this for last 14 days or like last 7 days, whatever your frequency is. And then okay, the conversion rate increased by 12%. That's good, right? That's the purpose. The ARCOS decreased by 17%. That's good, right? That's good. Because at the end of the day, to go full circle, if you know the placement performance for a keyword, then okay, that's what the bid optimization should be grounded on. Like, if you have a higher CPC for that's in this scenario, a higher CPC for top of search and a better ARCOS, then of course increase a bit, but not oftentimes, but like sometimes you don't have a better conversion rate for top of search. Maybe it's a competitive keyword, could be a myriad of reasons. But in this scenario, that makes sense. Like, that makes sense. We want to increase the bid, and in this scenario, we lowered the ACOS, which is great. We made more orders. Could also be market behavior, right? But like, now okay, let's find another example. For example, here, we increased the bid by 34%, right? That's a big increase, to be fair. Let's find a different example. Here we increased it by 6% period over period, but the ACOS increased and our clicks went down, right? And our cost went down, sure, but that's also because, and our sales went down by 35%. So in this scenario, bid optimization was bad, right? Because probably that's because for top of search or for higher placement, we have a worse conversion rate. So I know that's like deep into it, but man, that's really important, right? Like, and we don't want to make campaign optimization too complicated. So I would keep it simple, single keyword campaigns on top 20% of keywords, because then you always know, okay, if I'm enabling placement mods, which are a great tool, then I know I'm only doing it for the keyword. That's like, I know the keyword performance is the placement performance. We get more granular, like, we get more granular data, and we have clarity. So stay tuned for the next video. In the next video, we're going to cover, how you can deploy single keyword campaigns with bulk files. But okay, you want to have some kind of system. This is based on the search term impression share report, where okay, what's my impression share week over week and period over period? And you can use the same logic. For example, we want to see, like, do we still have impressions to acquire, right? Can we still get impressions in the pipeline? Because at the end of the day, only impressions lead to clicks, only clicks lead to orders, and only orders lead to sales, right? So for example, in this scenario, we already have 100% of the impression share. But like in this example here, we have only 28% of the impression share, and we only got 28 clicks. So we might want to use a single keyword campaign here and go for top of search with a multiplier in order to acquire more, impression share, because that way you we need more impressions to make more sales. Like, that's really how simple it is, right? Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Leonardo da Vinci is not one of the greatest inventors of all time because he made things complicated. He made things simple, but he made it simple, so simple and stupid that people think it's, it's stupid. But like, people still remember Leonardo da Vinci, right? So, but keep it simple. We need more clicks, we need more impressions, but you need to be able to identify for what target. So look at the search term impression share report, period over period. If you need a sheet like that, hit me up on LinkedIn. I'll forward it to you. And that way you can even identify for what targets you can acquire more targets, right? And then lastly, you just have to have some kind of SOP like that. I will link this down below. But, some people like to use inch-up technique. I know like AdBadger or like AdLabs, they like to use RPC bidding strategy. What I don't like about RPC bidding strategy is with low clicks, like the bid can inflate really quickly. So, like I like to use absolute value increases for higher bid ranges and percentages for lower bid ranges, because I've seen when I use percentages for higher bid ranges, the bid can increase, like inflate quickly. But you would just want to have some kind of cadence. And another thing is, don't always optimize in the same time frame. Stick to one thing and commit to it. Like either use 7 days over 7 days or 14 days over 14 days. That's the scientific method. That's the scientific method 101. We don't want to compare. We don't want to go like 30 days and then 7 days and then we want to have 14 days. Like, stick to the same time frame. So otherwise, the scientific method, we're just running a big data experiment all day, every day. So you need to have fixed measurement units so you can actually, correlation. So that's the video for today. Thank you for your time. My name is Paul. Like, comment, subscribe if you found this valuable, and hit me up on LinkedIn so we can nerd out on PPC, Deuces.